You learn to breathe again after they lowered the casket into the ground, after the last guest left your house with their empty condolences, after the world expected you to simply continue as if the most important chapter of your life hadn't just been violently ripped from the book, leaving only torn pages and the ghost of what used to make you whole. The difficulty of living after the end isn't about missing someone or something. It's about waking up every single morning and realizing that the person you were died with them. And now you're supposed to figure out how to be someone completely new, without any instructions, without any map, without even knowing if you want to take that first step into this strange and hollow version of existence. You stand in front of the mirror and you do not recognize the eyes staring back at you because they've seen too much. They've cried oceans that no one else witnessed. They've stared at ceilings at 3 a.m. asking God why he went silent, right when you needed his voice the most. And the reflection shows someone who survived, but isn't sure if survival was worth the price of losing everything that once defined them. Living after the end means carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken goodbyes in your chest. Feeling your heart beat but wondering if it's just mechanical now. If the soul that once animated your dreams and hopes didn't somehow slip into that grave when you weren't looking. You smile at people because that's what they expect. You go through the motions of daily life because bills don't stop coming and responsibilities don't pause for grief. But inside there's this vast canyon of silence where conversations with them used to echo. Where plans for the future used to grow like wildflowers. Where the simple certainty of tomorrow used to be enough to make today bearable. Nobody tells you that the hardest part isn't the funeral or the first week or even the first month. It's the moment 6 months later when you reach for your phone to call them about something mundane and your finger hovers over their name before reality crashes into you like a wave of ice water. Reminding you that this absence is permanent, that this void will be your companion for every remaining sunrise you're forced to witness. You've become an expert at pretending you're okay because people can only handle your grief in small manageable doses. They can offer sympathy for a season, but then they need you to move on, so their own comfort isn't disturbed by the reminder that loss this deep exists in the world. So you learn to cry in the shower where the water masks the sound. You learn to have full conversations with ghosts in your head while nodding along to whatever living person is speaking to you. You learn that "I'm fine" is the password that lets you navigate social situations without making everyone uncomfortable with the truth that you're barely holding together with threads of sheer willpower and stubborn refusal to completely fall apart. The difficulty of living after the end is that you're expected to rebuild when you don't even remember who you were before the demolition. When the foundation itself has cracks running so deep that you're not sure anything you construct on top of it will ever feel stable or safe again. Your faith, that thing that was supposed to be your anchor now, feels like a rope with frayed edges that you're gripping so hard your hands bleed, but you can't let go because it's the only thing keeping you from free falling into an abyss of complete meaninglessness. You pray, but the words feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling, returning to you cold and unanswered. And you wonder if God is testing you, or if he simply looked away at the exact moment you needed him to show up with the kind of miraculous intervention that would make this nightmare make sense. The Bible speaks of valleys and shadows of death, but nobody mentioned that you might have to build a house there, that you might have to learn to plant gardens in soil made of sorrow. That faith after devastating loss isn't a mountain you climb once, but a path you walk every single day. Even when your feet are bleeding and your vision is blurred by tears, you're too exhausted to shed anymore. Living after the end means every holiday is a minefield. Every family gathering has an empty chair that screams louder than any conversation. Every milestone you reach is bittersweet because they're not there to celebrate it. And you have to carry both the joy of the achievement and the grief of their absence in the same trembling hands. You've learned to live with paradox, to hold happiness and heartbreak in the same moment, to laugh at something genuinely funny and then feel guilty 2 seconds later, because how dare you experience joy when they're gone? How dare you continue collecting beautiful moments when their collection was cut short by death's cruel and arbitrary scissors? The difficulty isn't just that they're gone, it's that you're still here and you have no idea what you're supposed to do with all the love that has nowhere to go, all the words you never got to say. All the future that was supposed to include them, but now stretches ahead like a desert with no oasis in sight. You've discovered that grief isn't linear. It's not a process with clear stages that you complete and then graduate from like some kind of emotional school. It's a spiral that you travel round and round, sometimes feeling like you're healing, and then suddenly you're back at the bottom wondering if you've made any progress at all. The triggers are everywhere and nowhere. A song on the radio that was their favorite. A scent that reminds you of their presence. A random Tuesday in October when nothing special is happening, but your body remembers that this is the day they died, and suddenly you can't breathe and you're right back in that hospital room, or at that accident scene, or in that moment when the doctor's face told you everything before their mouth could form the words. Living after the end means your nervous system is constantly on alert, waiting for the next loss, unable to fully relax, because you've learned that the things and people you love most can be taken away in an instant, and all your prayers and pleading won't change the outcome. The world keeps spinning with its trivial concerns and petty dramas, and you want to scream at people that none of it matters, that they're wasting their precious time arguing about things that won't matter when they're standing where you're standing, looking at the edge of everything they thought was permanent and watching it crumble. But you don't scream because you remember that you were once like them. You once thought you were immune to this kind of devastation. You once believed that bad things happen to other people, and your faith would somehow protect you from the worst kinds of pain, and now you know better. Now you know that being a good person doesn't shield you from loss, that loving God doesn't mean He'll spare you from having to say goodbye to the people who made life worth living. The difficulty of living after the end is that you have to redefine everything: what faith means when prayers aren't answered the way you desperately needed them to be, what hope looks like when the future you planned has been cancelled, and you're left improvising a new script without any of the main characters you were counting on. You have to find reasons to get out of bed that aren't connected to them. You have to rebuild an identity that is undefined by being their partner, or their child, or their parent, or their friend. You have to learn who you are in this after. And some days you don't want to learn. Some days you want to stay in the before, even if it's just a memory, even if living in the past means refusing to fully inhabit the present. But here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud, because it sounds too harsh, too unpolished, too devoid of the comfortable platitudes that people hide behind when real suffering makes them uncomfortable. Living after the end is your reality now, and you can spend the rest of your life resenting it, or you can slowly, painfully, courageously begin to build something new from the ruins. It won't look like what you had, it won't feel like what you lost, and there will always be a scar where the wound was. But scars are proof that you survived something that tried to kill you. And maybe, just maybe, that's its own kind of miracle, even if it's not the miracle you were praying for. God hasn't abandoned you in this wasteland. He's sitting in the ashes with you, waiting for the moment when you're ready to believe that resurrection isn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago, but something that can happen in you today, tomorrow, in the quiet moments when you choose to take one more breath and see if maybe this breath leads to something that resembles life again. The difficulty of living after the end is real, and it's brutal, and it's going to hurt for longer than anyone has the courage to tell you. But you're still here, and that means something, even if you can't see what it means yet, even if all you can do right now is simply exist and call that enough, because on some days existing is the bravest thing you'll do. And maybe that's exactly what faith looks like when it's been through fire, and somehow impossibly is still refusing to be completely extinguished.